Welcome to SkillCapped's brand new series where we are literally going to be taking iron players and bring them all the way up to diamond faster than you can even imagine is possible. Throughout this series, you're not only going to learn the biggest mistakes that you make and how to fix them, but you'll also be able to see just how insane the results can be when applying simple fixes to your gameplay, even if your mechanics aren't amazing. And the best part is, you can follow along at home and walk the same journey as our students to see if you can get the same results or even better. So be sure to subscribe so you don't miss out on the following episodes. In this video, you are going to meet our first student who goes by the name of Mr. White. Mr. White is an Iron 3 level player who, just like you, has been encapsulated with Valorant. Unfortunately, he's about to realize just how difficult this game can be. Mr. White has a long way to go, and unfortunately when you're this new, the advice to improve isn't all that interesting. Starting out in most games is all about learning the fundamentals, like crosshair placement and recoil control. Yuck. This may be a bit boring, but it's honestly the boring advice that will truly help you improve and are often the things that people ignore the most. And Mr. White is Iron 3 at the start of this video, but by the end he is actually going to hit silver, and it's all by just applying a few basic concepts. Let's take a look.
Get with this run. Look, we're rotating, and realistically, we know no one's going to be in front of you. So we need to be making sure our crosshair is ready to like shoot someone there in case they're there. Like you do here. Like, get ready. You're going to get a kill here, but like still aiming at the ground. We don't want to be aiming at the ground. We want to be aiming ahead side just in case of swing. Yeah, a nice turret kill, luckily. Or are we is Yao Ming about to swing us? No one is this tall. Mr. White, we need to be aiming at the head. We want to be prepared for all these angles. We don't want to be aiming too high or too low. It's better to aim a little bit too high, but this is way too high. This is like crazy. We don't want to be aiming this high. Reina's holding drop. Okay, this is the thing. Okay, we know if they're gonna swing, they're gonna be here. What are we aiming here for? And if you get a swing from here, you die instantly because you're gonna have to do a flick here or a flick here. And then once again, we have our turret holding flank, our teammates who went through sand, and we're still looking at the wall to watch flank. So once again, it's a bit of awareness and kind of decision making. You're not making the best decisions right now, and it's not benefiting you because this wall, it's not doing nothing. It's not hurting you. Leave the wall alone. We want to make sure we want to hurt the enemies, not the wall. Because right now we've been looking at too many walls. We don't want to be looking at walls. We want to be looking ahead of us, ready to shoot heads.
So as you can tell, the first concept every player needs to learn if they want to get good at Valorant is crosshair placement. Watch how fast this target dies. The answer is really fast. You die in one bullet in a Valorant, which means that you need to kill the target as fast as possible. You don't want to have to adjust your crosshair too much, or you will end up losing an incredible amount of gunfights. It's also just really hard to aim. I have 3,000 games played, and I still do this sometimes. Damn. It's a hard game, and while I can do stuff like this too, there's no way I'm landing any of these shots if not for good crosshair placement. The key is to always have your crosshair in a spot where the enemy can swing you. In this situation, Mr. White isn't fighting the Kool-Aid man. He's not just about to bust through the wall and, oh yeah, he's got to keep his crosshair prepared for the enemies to swing him. In this example, Mr. White is aiming too high. He's not fighting a draft. He needs to keep his crosshair at head height for where the enemies might swing him. In this example, his crosshair placement is a lot better. He's not aiming at the Kool-Aid man, and he's not aiming at a draft. But it does seem like he's anticipating Sonic to come wide swing this angle. He's got to have it much closer to either the left wall or drop. This way, if an enemy swings him, he doesn't need to adjust too much. It's not just crosshair placement that new players need to learn though. Mr. White also needs to learn just how to process information a bit better. One of the most valuable tools in the game is your minimap, and learning how to use it effectively doesn't come naturally to everyone. That's why one of our coaches, Zombies, sat down with him and had basically an hour-long crash course teaching him a bunch of little things related to setting himself up for success. We wanted to document everything that we did for Mr. White so that any of you could follow along to see the same success that he did in your own gameplay. That's why we went ahead and uploaded all of the coaching sessions that we've had with him over to our brand new Road to Diamond course so that you will literally have hours of footage showcasing everything that was offered to Mr. White on his climb to Diamond. So far, we've had a total of 4 coaching sessions with Mr. White, all talking about different core fundamentals that he needed to start climbing. We also include all of the other courses that we've sent Mr. White to bring his mechanics up to snuff in as short amount of time as possible. That's how we took a player from looking like this and got him looking like this.
Swing, help me! Do it again! Do it again!
We'll show you all of the same courses that Mr. White watched along his climb, as well as every bit of advice that he was given to instantly start fragging. And if it doesn't work for you, we offer a 5-division money back guarantee, so if you don't climb, you don't pay. Starting out though, it's really important that you even just set yourself up for success. Did you know that there are certain settings that could be holding you back? It doesn't even have anything to do with your gameplay, you just haven't done the prep work to succeed. It's like driving a car with the emergency brake on. You can still do it, but it's not going to feel nearly as smooth, and it's not very great for your car in the long term. This is exactly what Zombies helped Mr. White solve.
Next on the list, though, is the minimap zoom. So you can see here, I've got mine at a 0.83. You could max this out. You could do a full 1, and you see icons get a lot larger, but also the minimap gets cut off. So on Bind, a smaller map, this is okay. But you also do have parts on larger maps that get cut off a lot more often. And same thing here, if you go all the way down, sure, you don't have to do as much work as you would if the minimap was up in this top left corner, but it's still a lot smaller, and getting the information of who that is over there takes a lot more work because of the size of the icons, because they're so small.
Notice how the biggest issue that Zombies brought up was that if your map settings are too horrible, it's literally just more difficult to gather information using it. Like, you physically have to move your eyes more, and especially for newer players, you're probably not even going to bother looking at your map enough anyway. For this reason, you want your map to be as big as it can possibly be so that you don't miss important information when it's available. In Valorant, your teammates are so important. And we don't mean that you need good teammates to win, we mean that you need to recognize what your teammates are doing so that you can take advantage of them. Based off of what your teammates see, you can make some crazy conclusions in game that massively simplify the match. The thing most players probably struggle with for concepts like this is, when do I apply this? So right here, we'll see what happens. So right here, round starts, I'm looking up at the map. This turret is sick for this reason, by the way. So you place the turret long, it doesn't spot anything long, so you know that there's nobody long right now, which is sick because your KO knife too short, you didn't see anything long. I might be mistaken, but I think these guys peeked out hookah. And if that's the case, you know they have to be on this side of the map. We'll see if he peeks out. Yeah, he goes for the peek right here, he blinds out, he doesn't see anything. So already we're like 4 seconds into the round, you know where everybody is. Like, isn't that sick?
Yeah.
Yeah, so basically off of that information, what you can determine is, like, do I want to teleport on these guys and flank? Do I want to rotate quickly and get with these guys so that we can fight them when they're coming in? Especially on like an eco round, I would probably lean more towards like the teleport option, or like the fight with these guys, like rotate over quickly, just because you're on an eco. Like, you have nothing to lose, so it's like, might as well leave. Say, for example, you're wrong and they end up coming back towards B. It's like, okay, well, what did we lose? We lost an eco. You know, at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter. So I just I wanted to encourage that a little bit more. I think that you could play a lot faster with this. I think just understanding, looking up at your map a little bit at the start of the rounds, like literally the first 5 seconds, just look at the map, see what your teammates see, and you can kind of like try to draw conclusions on where you should go based off of that. And you can start asking your teammates for stuff too. There's other little tactics that I do that I can show you. So your KO is going to peek out long. He doesn't see anything. Sage is going to peek out hookah. She doesn't see anything. Immediately, you know that everybody's beat. I think your Sky just dogged here. Probably got shot too. He probably didn't say anything, but you can always ask him. You can be like, did you see anyone short, Sky? Or if she flashes, oftentimes Skies will flash, and it's kind of hard to tell all the time. It doesn't always make the voice line. But so they see one short. So this is what I was saying. I think this is the round I told you to teleport. This is why I told you to teleport, is because you know that they're all A at this point. So basically, optimally, what would happen if you're in like high or elo is that your Reyna fights showers, and then you and KO teleport, and you can like flash out of here and fight. But even so, it's still the right decision because you know that they're all here, and you want to pinch sight when they come in. So that's kind of how you want to do it. And just play with confidence, right? So when you come in here, like I said, you have good aim. I wouldn't feel bad or anything about your aim. Like, you're very capable of taking these gunfights. And this is how I knew you were safe, by the way. It's because I was looking at the map right here. So when I told you to teleport, we already saw the people short. We knew that they were through showers. And I think that I'll point out the exact moment where it's like really, really obvious is right here. You should absolutely teleport because, again, they saw 2 short. You see 3 coming out of showers. You like counting heads. You know where all 5 are, right? So that's pretty sick because now you can come through and you can teleport here. And this is how I knew this corner was clear, is because I saw the 3 on the map right here. Hopefully that makes sense to you. It's a really hard thing to train. It takes time to kind of like get used to looking at the map. But basically what I think helps is knowing like the time periods in the round in which you can look at the map. So those like first 5-10 seconds of the round, that's where you gather a lot of that information. And then you kind of use that to make decisions later in the round, if that makes sense. Like, okay, now I know that I can gather information by looking at the map, but when should I look at the map? For the most part, during rounds, basically the answer to this question is whenever you're doing something that doesn't require you to look at where you're aiming. But when you're new, you don't even know the answer to that. Like, when is it okay to look at my crosshair? When is it okay to look away? That becomes the new question. That's exactly why I introduced this topic to Mr. White as counting heads. Especially on Sentinel, this is nice because you're normally going to want to play off of your setups on site anyway, so you'll spend the early round just sitting back and looking up at the map. Your goal is to count to 5. You're trying to locate all 5 enemy players, or at least a majority of the enemy team, so that you know where they are. Now in Radiant, sometimes just by locating one player, you can make accurate assumptions on where the other 4 players are. However, in low elo, we're not expecting you to do that. We just want you to be aware of where most of the enemy team is at, and if you ever get to 5, you know with 100% certainty that you can flank. Based off of this teaching, watch how Mr. White was instantly able to dominate in his matches afterwards.
Enemy spotted mid.
Spike down A.
Toxins going up.
Nó chỉ đo rồi tách cái sau á. Đầu con mẹ.
Put down.
Không sao.
Toxin screen down.
Tại sao ấy? Đầu mẹ.
I want to say it's okay to laugh here a little bit. I'm presenting this tactic as if it's something super overpowered, and you just watched our Viper player die a horrible death. But I'm not joking when I say the decision to flank here was a good decision, and his team ended up winning the round because of it. Although, yeah, his mechanics looked a bit goofy, he made the right call, and it put him in a great position to win the round. For me, it was super cool that I was able to simplify a relatively complex mechanic, and as a bronze player, he was instantly able to start applying it in his matches to win rounds.
Honestly, I look at the minimap a lot, but I still don't know how to use the information. Yeah, effectively.
Yeah, I think it's tough. I mean, like, you're still learning so much about the game, so it's like, you could look at everything, but it's like, what are you really looking for? So that's what makes it a lot easier. It's just understanding like exactly what you're looking for. Like I said, with the counting heads thing, that is so important because then you can know where the enemy players are. You want to locate all 5 enemy players as soon as you can in the round, because once you know where they are, you know how to kind of like react to it. So if you see 5 people A, it's like, okay, well, clearly we're going to go A. But if you only see like 2 people A, and it's like they're not really pushing in and they don't really take any space short, it's a little bit more up in the air. But I mean, like, it gets really complicated. For the most part, what I just want you to do is just like keep tabs on it, you know? Like, just try to count out and just see, okay, 1, 2, 3, 4. By far, though, the most important thing for Mr. White to improve comes down to his fundamentals. That last tip that we gave you is actually pretty cool, but at the end of the day, if you can't shoot for shit, it's not really going to matter. It honestly is the boring advice that will truly help you improve and are often the things that people ignore the most. For example, it's a lot easier to get excited and think that knowing with the correct crosshair settings while playing Brimstone, your orbital strike will provide you with the exact lineup that you need to fire off a molly from across the map towards any location and have it land directly on top of the spike to clutch out a round. But the bronze players you're playing against have an 8% headshot percentage. If you just have half decent crosshair placement and swing with your teammate, you will never lose. This is why we sent Mr. White our aim god course and told him to watch it and then watch it again. And before you say, wow, SkillCapped, another ad, I sent him this course because I put a lot of effort into it to make sure that it clearly explains all of the fundamentals when it comes to aiming as clearly and concisely as possible. We even paid users to submit feedback on the course of what they found confusing so that we could improve it even further. So yeah, we sent them this course because it's just that good. The truth is, you need to learn these fundamentals because at the end of the day, if you can't shoot your gun, you will lose. Valorant is an FPS game, and although there is a ton of strategy that we can teach you, if you want to play a game that rewards strategic play, you should probably pick a different game. The other thing that is crucial for Mr. White's success, though, is that he needs to play the game. I know, sounds outrageous, but we get a lot of users who come in to submit questions in our Discord saying, I'm really inconsistent and stuck in silver, how do I climb? And then we look at their tracker and they have 2 hours spent in Deathmatch total. Which, if you're new to Valorant, it's entirely possible that you don't realize this, but Deathmatch isn't actually really its own game mode. You probably tried Deathmatch once and was like, this isn't very fun, and then you never played it again. I seem to remember when I was a kid, I would play Call of Duty, and I would just run around in free-for-all matches or Deathmatch, and that was the game for me. Sure, I played some Search and Destroy, but for the most part, if you just played free-for-all, that wasn't particularly weird. In Valorant, if you only play Deathmatch, most players are going to ask, why? It's not exactly the most fun game mode. Most of the time, you're just getting shot in the back of the head. But the actual game of Valorant is so slow and punishing that you're probably going to take at max like 30 gunfights in an hour-long match. That is on average like 1 gunfight every 2 minutes. Do you know how long that is? Here, let's sit here for 2 minutes so you can see. Of course we're not going to do that. That would be ridiculous. How are you ever going to get better aim like that? Deathmatch game modes are practice game modes in Valorant. They're not meant to be super fun, and Team Deathmatch was a great attempt for them to improve them, but it still is just practice. It's supposed to create an environment where you can take as many gunfights as possible in as short amount of time as you can. If you want to get good mechanics as fast as possible, the schedule that we recommend is playing 3 to 4 deathmatches a day, followed by 2 to 3 competitive matches if you have the time. The key here is that during those death matches, you're focusing on all of the things that we talked about in our Aim God course and actually practicing your fundamentals. You don't need to follow a 7-day schedule for this, but if you really want to get good, you should be practicing at minimum 5 days a week. That sounds like a lot. It comes out to around 3 hours a day. But if you commit to this, you can see real results just like Mr. White has.
Enemy down. Powers out.
Last player standing.
Chơi thật gân chứ.
Swarm grenade out. Teddy.
Ôi phải lộn. Ai? Quá hay vậy.
Powers
Để cho
out.
người bom.
Spike planted.
Được yêu.
One enemy remaining.
Quá hay.
Cuồng đảo rồi.
Im. Rồi chờ luôn á. Cuồng đảo luôn mà. Heaven rồi. Đúng đầu cho anh. Đụng lên đi. Đủ quá. Sao có gác người ta đéo câu đó.
Who's next?
Toxin screen down.
Ui đéo mà dạo quá.
3 down.
Rồi, ham á.
Don't get in my way.
Last player standing.
All right, so I guess aim isn't going to solve all of your problems. So at the end of the day, we didn't really cover anything crazy. When you're this new to the game, you don't need crazy. What you need is fundamentals. We broke down how to aim, how to look at your map, what settings you should use, how to practice, and not to use utility in the open. With all of the advice that we've given Mr. White though, he's already made his climb from Iron 3 to Silver in just a few short weeks. That is pretty crazy if you ask me. He literally has no FPS experience at all before this, and while he's Diamond in League of Legends, this is still a pretty steep learning curve to pick up an FPS game so easily. Remember, if you want to follow along in the series, be sure to subscribe down below so you can catch the next episode where we will be breaking down exactly how Mr. White was able to force the enemy team to surrender by once again just applying super simple fundamentals that we didn't teach today. If you want to catch this coaching session early though, as mentioned before, we are uploading all sessions that we have with Mr. White to our brand new Road to Diamond course, which will also include all of the other resources that we provided Mr. White, as well as all of the homework that we provided him to get to this point. Our goal is to document everything that we teach Mr. White so that you too can experience similar gains as he did. The whole site is backed by our 5-division rank up guarantee as well, so if you don't climb, you don't pay. It's like your gym guaranteeing that you'd get ripped. Could you imagine that? Your local gym would go bust if they offered you that. Not us though. That's because our service works. If you want to check it out, be sure to use that link in the description below for a discount. And other than that, we will catch you in the next one.